Hill.
Present.
Vice Chair Papp is absent with notice. Chair Beamsterfer.
Here. Commissioner Hill, can we do invocation and flag salute, please?
Yep, we'll do the invocation first. Lord, we pray that you give us the wisdom to make the decisions necessary to make informed decisions tonight at this planning commission meeting. In your name we pray, amen. Join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Agenda item number 4 is the public comment period for items not on the agenda. Are there any members of the public present that would like to comment on an item not on the agenda? Seeing that there is none, are there any members of the public joining via conference or Zoom that would like to comment on an item not on the agenda?
I don't show any attendees logged in, and I did not receive any e-comments.
Thank you. Agenda item 5A, approval of the minutes for the meeting of December 5th, 2023. Does commission have any comments or corrections?
No, I did review them and I don't have any comments or corrections.
I ask for a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the planning commission meeting of December 5th, 2023.
I second. And that motion passes. Agenda item 6A, receive and file report for the council strategic plan trash enclosure upgrade program. Director Monique.
Thank you, Chair. Members of the Planning Commission and the community, I'm Monique Alaniz Slater, Community Development Director. Tonight will be a presentation on our trash enclosure pilot program. This is in alignment with our council strategic plan, enhancing the visual appearance of the community to make it attractive and reduce blight. On April 18th, 2023, the city's police, fire, including code enforcement, public works, and city's attorney's office and the office of the city manager met at the city's Covell building to discuss strategies to clean and beautify the community. The participants in this Beautification Code Summit discussed challenges the community is facing, opportunities to improve the city's municipal code to aid cleanliness and beautification efforts, opportunities to streamline operations, and improve communication resources that would add value and to seek strategies for innovation. At that meeting, the city decided that addressing trash enclosures in commercial and industrial zones is one of the first vital steps to start the city's beautification process. And on October 10th, 2023, the City Council established a trash enclosure pilot program to reduce blight, safety, and security issues for unsecured bins in the community. At that meeting, the council appropriated a total of $500,000, including a CR&R pledge to aid in this program. The pilot program would address initially 20 trash enclosures. And we did launch the program on January 11th of 2024 to help businesses upgrade and provide clean, safe, and secure refuse facilities. So eligible projects would be locations on commercial corridors. The priority locations would be granted to projects along the commercial corridors, including Florida Avenue, Stetson Avenue, State Street, and San Jacinto Avenue. Information and application documents can be found on our city's website. This is the trash enclosure pilot program QR code that can be that will take you to the website for more information and application for the program. A little bit about the proposed code amendments that go along with the trash enclosure pilot program, which will be considered by our council on January 30th. The code amendments would allow the community development director to facilitate the program and allow for adjustments as necessary, so that a location that has perhaps a smaller lot or has site constraints, we would be allowed to make some concessions to ensure that that a appropriate trash enclosure would be permitted. And in addition, the code updates also would require to bring the city commercial and residential properties that have communal trash contracts would be required to be brought into compliance with our current refuse requirements within 2 years of adoption of the ordinance. So essentially, the potential is for all commercial and residential developments that have communal needs would be brought into compliance with our refuse standards by January 1st of 2026. So for more information about how to apply for commercial developments and commercial property owners that are interested, we do have the program that has been launched. This is the QR code for it. You can also find it on our city's website and at hemet.gov, Trash Enclosure Pilot Program. And this concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Director Monique. Are there any questions from the commissioners?
I have none. I have a couple. First of all, great initiative, by the way. I assume it's to suppress dumpster divers from going in there and things like that.
Yes, and they would be required to comply with our trash enclosure bin standards. There was an illustration in the presentation. More recently, a new trash enclosure was built, the O'Reilly's Auto Parts store. That's a good example of the type. It also provides a secure and enclosed bin.
Okay. Is this a shared cost with the applicant, or is it fully paid for?
Yes, this is a grant program.
Oh,
So
okay.
it does cover up to $20,000. We do require 3 bids and the lowest bid for the construction. It also includes the waiver of building permit and associated plan check fees.
Okay. But there's no cost to the applicant.
It is a grant, yes.
It's a grant, yeah, okay. I also noticed that in the paperwork here, in the the details, there's a strategic plan integration where you've got goals in here, and I see goal 1, 2, 4, and 5. Are these goals mapped back to the general plan? What happened to goal 3?
Yes, very good question. So these are the goals, strategic council goals. They could be linked also to our general plan, but they're more specifically linked to the city council strategic plan. And so those are the objectives of partnership and collaboration. These were the ones that fit that best.
Okay, gotcha. So this is a partial of that list.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And the objectives within the goals is a partial as well. Okay, that's why the numbering's weird. Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you.
I have a couple of questions. With the grant, with the trash enclosure, I remember Development Committee Review back a couple of years ago had for downtown, so I'm gonna go back to downtown on this. We have one trash enclosure that I recall on Front Street there, and it's not covered. It's just a wall around the trash. And then behind Harvard Street in a lot of business, there's just a lot of loose bins. I think there's 2 or 3 loose just bins. And have we thought about allocating some of that money to put into downtown and put some trash enclosures in there?
Great question. This is a all-inclusive program. There are commercial corridors which we are launching the program to address primarily on Florida Avenue, which of course is the downtown, State Street, Stetson. We are putting together a list. And what we'll do is, once we receive the list of applicants and property owners who are interested in participating with the program, if we have more than applications and we have available resources, we may have the council prioritize who receives the funding at this first of this pilot program. So this pilot program may continue forward, but right now we currently have a certain amount. And so anyone who's interested can apply for the program at this time, and then we will review the applications.
And then I know with you said up to 20 bins, but with the $500,000, it's about 25 bins. With CCNR, I know the laws has changed when it comes to food waste and things like that. Are they going to be applying those rules to those bins for those that are like maybe restaurants, and they're going to be applying that?
Yeah, so they'll have the double enclosure. They will have the double enclosure requirements per our city's refuse standards. If they do need the recycling, specifically for organic materials, and they will qualify for that type of business, we would also evaluate that at the time.
And one more question, what's an average cost of a trash enclosure for a 2-bin?
We estimated approximately 20,000.
All right, I think it's a great idea. All right, no other question, any other
Go
questions?
back.
What's that?
I have a go back. Hi, Monique. So how do the applicants know that this initiative is available to them?
We've launched on our city, through our city campaign. It was launched on January 11th. Also will be through social media, through this process, through this presentation. We're going to be handing out a flyer at the front counter at City Hall, and then also through our council updates.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Other questions? All right, well, we as a planning commission would like to receive and file this report. Thank you for your presentation. Item 7A, extension of time, number 24-001 for Holiday Inn Express. Director Monique.
Thank you, Chair Beamsterfer. This is a public hearing item for extension of time 24-001. The request is for an extension, 2-year extension of time. The applicant is Ace Design LLC. The property owner is the SSS&J Patel Family Trust. This property is located east of the northeast corner of West Florida Avenue and Costin. It's adjacent just to the west of the Hampton Inn. The request is for a 2-year extension of time of the conditional use permit CUP 19-015 and site development review SDR 19-012 for the Holiday Inn Express and Suites for the construction and operation of a 48,698 square foot 4-story 80-room hotel on approximately 1.6 acres, including landscaping, lighting, outdoor pool lounge area. The property did receive, or the applicant received approval by the Planning Commission, and they have been working through the process through the city, through the building permit process and civil engineering process. The applicant is in need of additional time to address some drainage challenges on the property. They do need a little bit more time, and we anticipate that they would obtain grading permits within the next 3 to 6 months for the development. The building permit for the hotel has already been approved and is pending the issuance of the grading permit. The property also received during that time when Planning Commission reviewed it, this is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA. It had a previously adopted CEQA exemption for the project, and is included in the staff report, is referenced in your resolution that was provided to you with the staff report. I also wanted to just make a note of just some minor amendments to the resolution, just some corrections on page number 2 of the resolution. We incorporated whereas a timely extension of time was submitted and the addition is by the applicant for the conditional use permit. And then one correction to section 4 of the CEQA findings. Instead of saying categorical exemption was adopted, it was adopted in accordance with California Environmental Quality Act. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Monique. Any questions for the staff?
Yeah, I understand that this was brought up because there was a hydraulic or drainage issue that was happening. Was this the cause of the other hotel that was being built?
Yes, so my understanding is that the drainage is not flowing the way it was estimated in the initial preliminary drainage plan. So there's an issue with the drainage from the Hampton Inn. So to be able to address that and make sure that it follows the drainage easement, that they will have to modify the grading plan.
Okay, so that's what affected this upcoming hotel.
The timing, yes.
It was unforeseen. Okay.
Yeah, no, I have no questions.
And you are going out, contacting Hampton Inns, you said, about the,
They are aware. Yes.
all right, I don't have any questions. With that, we'll open up public hearing. Are there any members of the public present or online that would like to comment on this item, Ms. Hernandez?
I don't show anyone online requesting to speak, and I did not receive any e-comments.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, we will go ahead and close public hearing and ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt Planning Commission resolution approving a 2-year extension of time for conditional use permit 19-015 and site development review SDR 19-012 for Holiday Inn Express.
Second.
And that motion passes. Item 6A, work study items on housing legislation, zoning code updates. Director Monique Alanis-Lecter.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Tonight, we're going to present to you, I'm just going to provide a little bit of a background, and then David Sauls with WSP on behalf of WRCOG is going to provide you with a overview this evening. In 2022, the Western Riverside Council of Governments, WRCOG, received Regional Early Action Planning REAP grant funds to support local jurisdictions carrying out activities that facilitate local housing production. WRCOG offered to provide this service at no cost to the city, and this aligns with the council's expressed desire for staff to seek grant opportunities. And so with the high volume of development activity in the planning division, the planning division requested to outsource technical expertise to assist with our current and long-range planning efforts. And over the past few years, several housing bills have been signed into law to address state housing goals. And many of the new state mandates require local jurisdictions to amend the zoning codes to be consistent with state law and housing-related matters. So with that, David Sauls with WSP will provide a presentation of the work that we have been working on since the time that we did receive approval. They have been evaluating the municipal code for compliance with state law, as well as providing draft zoning code amendments in preparation of zoning ordinance text amendments. So this presentation will be provided to you as a informational, as well as we'll be taking this also to our city council on February 13th for also a presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Monique. Good evening, commissioners. My name again is David Sauls. I'm a land use planner with WSP. And this is, as Monique explained, this is one of two informational workshops or presentations that we're giving. The second one will be on February 13th to City Council. So we are going to be discussing updates to the municipal code that are all connected to state housing legislation. Housing legislation is, over the past few years, has covered a number of topics, including those listed on the slide here, like ADUs, density bonus law, permit streamlining, and there have been a lot of changes. So this presentation, I'm going to try to keep it to 10-15 minutes, is just going to provide a brief overview of that legislation and how it impacts the city. And then I'll leave some time for questions. And as Monique mentioned, this work, the project is funded by a regional early action planning grant from the state and managed by Western Riverside Council of Governments. Some of the bills that we're talking about here require actual changes to the city's code. Others don't require changes to the code, but they still, state laws still apply. And I'll point out some of those differences. We made updates to 9 different sections of the zoning code, chapter 90. And because of the funding of this and the funding timeline of this project, we were able to include changes or legislation up through the 2021 session. So this does not include 22 and 23 sessions. I will describe some of those key bills at the end of this presentation. And the updates here, I believe, will not conflict with the next round of changes that will be necessary for the last 2 sessions. So I'm going to jump into the major topics that the state bills covered and talk about how it impacts the city. The first topic has been one of the biggest over the past few years. That's accessory dwelling units, ADUs. The state has been trying to find ways to nudge development of more ADUs. Some of the more significant bills are on this slide here, and I'm not going to talk, I won't read out these slides. Hopefully you have them in front of you. They're also available online, but some of the major kind of changes here include ministerial approval for 1 ADU and 1 JADU, junior ADU, per single family lot, more for multifamily lots. They allow ADUs in cities that don't have an ADU ordinance. That doesn't apply to Hemet. Hemet has one. It exempts ADUs that are 750 square feet or less from any type of impact fee. These new bills also require cities to allow ADUs that are built by qualified nonprofits to be conveyed. So yeah, like I mentioned, Hemet does have a good, robust ADU ordinance already. There will be a couple changes that we recommend making. Those are in the smaller blue box on this screen, including like the last thing I mentioned about qualified nonprofits being able to convey certain ADUs if they're as affordable housing. On to the next topic, the affordable housing. There were 13 bills from 2017 to 21 related to affordable housing. The bills in general add more reporting responsibilities for every city, and they add more incentives for building more affordable housing and preserving existing affordable housing. Again, this slide includes a summary of some of the significant bills. Bills had to do with defining different types of affordable housing, like farm worker or agricultural employee housing. They also had protections for mobile homes and more requirements for permit streamlining. There were a few housing-related changes to CEQA. Just these two bills here, AB 140 and SB 7. They don't require any changes to Hemet's code. SB 7 is about expedited litigation, and AB 140 is connected to COVID. It expires in July of this year. On to the density bonus law. There continue to be changes to the DBL. These include reducing impact fees and reducing parking requirements, and adding new and different types of incentives. Some of the significant bills, they set a new affordability period up to 55 years, prohibit charging impact fees against the affordable units in a density bonus law project. There are new incentives for 100% affordable projects and student housing. And there are parking reductions, as I mentioned, that are actually not as relevant now because of a 2022 bill, AB 2097, that basically basically granted parking reductions for any project, not just density bonus law projects. There are 5 bills under equity and fair housing. There are no updates necessary to the municipal code. But the bills include ensuring access and amenities are equal in mixed income projects, equal for market rate units versus affordable units. And it also creates there's a bill that also creates a state program to redact unlawfully restrictive covenants. Okay. There have been a lot of updates to approvals and streamlining, project approvals and permit streamlining over the past few years. These include amendments to the Housing Accountability Act and its overall purpose of speeding up approvals for infill housing development. There are limits set on discretionary reviews and hearings and review time periods. There's a bill that allows developments to apply for vesting rights on a project for a set time period. And a couple other kind of key changes based on these bills here. And most of this really applies to multifamily projects. I had to split this up onto 2 slides to kind of go over the significant bills under project approval and streamlining. But there's a lot of crossover with bills that allow streamlining and approvals, crossover with affordable housing, with zoning, with bills about shelters and emergency housing or emergency shelters. And this slide is, the second slide on significant bills. You probably recognize some of these numbers as some of the bigger ones that have come up in the last few years, like SB 30 and 35, 8 and 9. There are also bills that have more to do with the requirements of planning documents, including the housing element. And these bills give the state more teeth in ensuring that cities follow their housing element and that they include affirmatively furthering fair housing goals as well. These are those four bills. For example, AB 721 allows the owner of an affordable housing development to request that all covenants, conditions, restrictions, or that restrict the number and size of residents be rendered unenforceable. So for reporting requirements, some of the state bills also changed other requirements for the content of the housing element and what's a valid nexus study. These are important. They don't require any actual changes to the municipal code, but they'll need to be referred to, especially when nexus studies are updated. No updates necessary for bills related to tenant protections. That said, the city does need to be sure to continue to inform its operational code enforcement planning teams on required changes in building inspection or violations. And this includes here a summary of those four key bills. The youth transitional and emergency housing bills, there are 6 bills between 17 and 21. They allow certain shelters by right. They also create a new definition for a low barrier navigation center, which is a temporary shelter with services to help people find permanent housing. And then there are streamlining requirements that come along with that. So in addition to those low barrier navigation centers, the supportive housing is also required to be by right in certain zones. And a couple other bills, like including one that establishes intergenerational housing and defines that. There are some major bills in the zoning category. One that got the most attention was SB 9 that allows a single family lot to be split and then allows duplexes, so up to 4 houses on a lot. It comes with conditions though. Projects can't demolish existing houses. They must follow the city's design standards, design and zoning standards. And the new parcels that are created must be similar in size and be at least 1,200 square feet each. So actually these factors in the last 2 years seem to be fairly limiting the actual implementation of SB 9 across the state, at least thus far. There are other bills that also covered here that allow smaller home lot developments on a multifamily zone and allowing family daycares in homes. So the primary homeowner having a daycare up to 14 children, I believe, in their home as a by right use now. And yeah, these are just the bill numbers for those the changes I just mentioned. Okay. So that was a really fast overview of 27 to 2021 housing related legislation. As I was mentioning, there are a number of important bills in the past 2 sessions. I mentioned a couple of them. I have a couple on the slides here. I think are could be very impactful. If the first two are like a pair, SB 6 and AB 2011, they're both bills that allow residential uses in commercial and retail zones by right, if they meet a certain set of criteria, including affordability requirements and also labor requirements. There's AB 1332. So I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation that by state law now, a qualified nonprofit is able to convey an ADU if it abides by certain affordability criteria. AB 1332 allows cities the right to write into their code that anybody can convey an ADU separately. It's not a requirement, but if the city chooses to, it's something that they can allow now. AB 2097, that's the bill that now eliminates parking minimums that are within half a mile of a major transit stop. That should be capitalized. There's a specific definition for major transit stop. It has to do with having at least 15-minute headways during the rush hour and an intersecting transit line, or it has to be a rail station or a ferry. But anyway, it's very specific, and if a transit stop falls within this major transit stop definition, then the city cannot apply any type of parking minimum within a half mile. And then SB 4 that was this latest session, that allows faith-based institutions and nonprofit colleges to build affordable multifamily homes on their property. So I went through that fast. The next steps here, though, there's the full summary and comprehensive list of the proposed changes to Chapter 90. I believe those should be in the staff report. If not, I can talk about them being provided. And then a second workshop in February. And that would be followed by Planning Commission hearing and City Council hearings in the spring. So I'll open it up to questions. I'll do my best at answering those questions. There are a lot of bills. I wish I were an expert on all of them. I am not, but if I cannot answer any of your questions tonight, I'll be sure to record them and work with Monique and planning staff to give you full answers.
All right, thank you for that presentation. Commissioners, do we have any questions for our expert?
No questions.
Thank you for that presentation, by the way. Can you give me, in your opinion, the driving force behind these laws? And I'm talking maybe the ADU and the equity and fair housing ones specifically. I have my own opinion, but I'd like to hear what your opinion is of the driving force behind these laws.
I think the state's been fairly clear in talking about the housing crisis that the entire state of California is under, and you see it a lot in the abstracts of these bills, the discussion of the state's housing crisis as the main impetus towards almost all of these bills that are, all in the general direction of trying to make it easier to build more infill housing and more density throughout the state.
Okay. I'm thinking that it seems to be slanted a lot towards low-income housing, meeting the arena numbers that each city is put under, especially for low income. Um, am I on target here? Or am I?
Um, so that was one of the reasons that we tried to kind of create these topics and present the housing legislation under a number of different topics. So you could kind of see there's definitely bills that focus on affordable housing or the density bonus law, which is about building more affordable housing. There are also bills that are not solely about affordable housing or have they make changes to like streamline permitting for all types of multifamily housing. Yeah, I mean it's a mixed bag. There's definitely a lot of bills. The state has definitely passed a lot of bills to help incentivize and push for building and preserving affordable housing. But they've also there's also bills that are just pushing straight up for any type of housing, whether it be affordable or market rate.
Okay. So the ADU, so I could put an ADU on my property and that would qualify as an ADU as long as it meets the square footage criteria and the other criteria in the code. And I
Well,
could
generally, yeah. Actually, so the state's Housing Community Development (HCD) department has they publish an ADU handbook because every year we're seeing more and more laws coming out about ADUs, what you can and cannot do. So the if you're looking for overall kind of state what the state allows, then the HCD's ADU handbook is a good starting place. A lot of cities also provide direct information to kind of help walk people through their own ADU ordinance about what's allowed and what's not allowed. But yeah, in general, there are height and setbacks, height and setback restrictions. There's the number of ADUs are restricted as well, but there's a decent amount of leeway where the state is really trying to push cities to allow more than one or more, I should say, one or more ADUs on single family lots.
Okay. Well, it says here removes requirements for setbacks, lot coverage, and lot size in certain cases. So it sounds like they're trying to make it more accessible and more doable.
That is definitely the direction. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the basic function of an ADU, I mean, it's not for my mother-in-law. It's for someone that for low-income housing type situation or nonprofit.
No, it's for all of the above. I'd say in general, if an ADU is for low-income housing, the state laws at least have tried to give property owners more leeway, right? If you dedicate an ADU for low-income housing, we'll allow you to do more, right? In general, just more. But the state law also, I mean, the ADUs can be built for personal use, or you can have your mother, you can, make it a guest house. There's a lot of options. Basically, though, if you're deciding that your ADU is for affordable housing, then there are more incentives out there to get it built.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
I have actually a couple of handful of questions. Your ADU have a great view, I'll tell you that. So when they're referring to ADU as 50% of floor, and then you're also saying that there's a 4-foot setback. And so my question is how many ADUs can you build if you have, just say, you have a 1/4 acre versus somebody who has an acre and they want to build Is there a 2 limit max for ADUs per lot, or what is the maximum that somebody can put on their lot for ADUs if it meets 50% floor,
And it's a single family lot.
single family lot?
I mean, I don't have a direct answer for you. It depends on whether it's a detached ADU versus an attached ADU. So if you're building off of, like, if you're converting your garage as opposed to your detached garage as opposed to an attached garage, there are a lot of other factors. And it'll depend on the city of Hemet's ADU ordinance. As is today
Because
with some of these.
And if I read right too, that the state, because the state bills and assembly bills can be depressing sometimes, what they're trying to do, but you're able to parcel off a part of your property to some of these ADUs as well? Are you able to do that? Where if you have an ADU and somebody wants to use that as a separate address, are you able to sell that as a separate lot now if you have your own, and will that affect, it will affect all the other comp homes around you to have a certain value, which will bring everything else down around you?
So I don't believe the city allows you to sell your ADU as a separate lot. There is that bill that requires the city to do so if a qualified nonprofit develops an ADU as an affordable housing, so it has affordability requirements for, I believe, 55 years. Then in that case, then I believe generally you can sell, give a separate address, sell it separately. But that's that one single case. If it's not a qualified nonprofit developing and then conveying, if it's just a property owner creating an ADU, I don't believe that you can sell it. The city has if you all want to, change your municipal code to do that, you can.
I just know it mentioned that they can create its own address to a separate ADU. Did I misread that?
So there's the legislation allows for if a nonprofit organization develops affordable housing, that a separate ADU can be conveyed. We do now with our current ADU ordinance, if on one property, we do allow them to have a separate address, so that it's a separate unit, and it can be rented. We do allow that. Now, we don't allow it to be conveyed or sold.
As separate, okay.
Right, correct.
And my other question is with the SB4 with churches, again, the 50% floor, is that without the square footage of structures there, or are we using 50% of floor based on total square footage of property? But what's the 50% floor mean exactly?
I don't know the answer to that one.
So if I could try to answer. So if we're talking about single family homes that want to have an ADU, I think the question you had was there's a criteria. If you're adding onto your home, the maximum that you could add on for an ADU is 50% of the floor area of your home. So, but our current ordinance allows, if you want to do a detached, you can go up to 1,200 square feet, maximum of 16 feet in height, 4 feet from the side and rear property line. Now, on a traditional lot of 7,500 square feet, you're not going to get that size of an ADU. You're more than likely going to get 700, 800 square feet detached to be able to fit in your backyard. Now, if you want to, you can also have a junior accessory dwelling unit, and that is when you convert within the existing floor space of your home, you can have a separate unit like a guest suite. And that the intent is that has its own, it's considered a separate unit, but they can call it a junior because there is a maximum of 500 square feet that you can have in the existing floor space of your home. If you just want to add on to your home without doing a detached unit or converting your garage, you can, but you just cannot exceed 50% of the floor area of your home. That's correct.
And then, but back to the church question though, on the new bill that you're saying after and SB 4.
Mhm.
What is the regulate, I mean, what stops a church from, I mean, churches on, those are huge square footage, some of these churches. So what, if a church decided to put a bunch of container homes in there and call them ADUs, is there a limit? Will that affect the surrounding residential zones that are across the street? I don't understand. I understand the church is there to help the community, but can the church get overwhelmed or go over the top in building too many of these on one lot?
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I'm not as familiar with SB4. It would be, SB4 is, it's not necessarily about ADUs. It's about like a multifamily housing project and an affordable, with an affordability component. So, a certain number of units, set aside for different median income levels. But yeah, that's I can get more information on SB4 and sort of like what the parameters of they are and share that with planning staff tomorrow.
I'm just, that's just kind of, I mean, a church can't charge rent because it's nonprofit if they do it. I don't understand why churches would get involved in that. And then, one weird question, daycare. What's so different about this daycare before and after?
I think it's so it's specifically for in-home daycare. So it's your primary residence, your house. I think that in addition to there being a housing crisis, there's also a daycare deficiency in the state overall. And so the state basically allows somebody to have up to 14, look after up to 14 children within their house. And the state is now telling cities that they must allow this as a by right use.
Deny it.
It can still, still has, there still has to, abide by code enforcement and everything else. But the state is pushing cities to enable this for folks who do want to have a daycare center in their house.
Apply for a business license like they would normally, correct?
Yeah, they would still go through the whole process. Yep.
I don't think I have any other, I was curious what our AMI, area median income is for Hemet. Do you have that?
It's based off the area median income for Riverside County. If I'm not mistaken,
It's just based on county?
9,088. I need to follow up on that question.
No, but you might want to take a look at this AB 803 and this SB 9. I think it kind of covers what you're asking about, splitting lots.
Any other questions for staff?
Mm-mm.
And if there's no other questions, then thank you for your presentation. And Director Monique, I think that's it.
Yes, thank you so much for your comments. Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. Item 9A, City Attorney Reports.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Item 9B, Community Development Reports.
I have nothing to report. I did want to respond to the question about the area median income for Hemet. Now, our income is compared to Riverside County. That is the threshold that we use. I don't have the city of Hemet's, but I do have the area median income for Riverside County for a family of 4. Currently that is 94,500.
1,500?
Yes. And then I don't have any reports at this time. Thank you.
The development report. Okay. Item 9C, future item agendas.
Thank you. We have coming before you in the next month or so, we will have Palm Villas, which is an affordable housing, 100% affordable housing multifamily development. We also have a modification to approved model home and architectural review for Lennar at Stableview. They're coming back with some adjustments to their product on some of their lots. We also have a 25,000 square foot industrial warehouse for JD Fields that is also working its way through the pipeline and will be coming to you soon, as well as an extension of time for a previously approved ARCO AMPM car wash drive-through facility located on Florida Avenue and Soboba.
Another car wash?
This is one that was approved a couple of years ago,
Oh, really?
and it was
Okay.
pre-moratorium, pre-car wash moratorium. So.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Director Monique. And item 9D, Planning Commissioners Report.
Commissioner Ochoa,
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Hill,
As far as our street revitalization or repavement, or does anybody, do you know if Park Avenue is on that list? It is terrible. I mean, absolutely bad.
I can follow up with you on that.
Would you? Because it's really bad. Anyway, thank you. That's it. That's all I have.
Al Jr., huh?
Chair Beamster,
Last weekend, Mayor Mills, I was there. We had the 101st Ramona pageant dinner at the public library. And that was my first time being there. So it was actually exciting. You got to meet the band. They call them the Tribunes. I butcher that word every time, but it was a great time. Got to meet some people. And also, I believe March of this year, we have this League of Cities for Planning Commission, and something to suggest that we do have 3 new commissioners as well. And that's something that possibly we would like to attend. And that's coming up it's about 6-7 weeks away. So it's not too far away from now. And other than that, nothing else to report. And with there being no further business discussed, the meeting will be adjourned to the next Planning Commission meeting on February the 6th, 2023 at 6 p.m.